So yeah, just to begin, Mod's most recent marketing campaign that was just so interesting. That's not necessarily focused on the product, your pizza, but is rather focused on much on a big part of your brand, which is how much you value people. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it might help to start with just level setting a little bit of how we think about the how we think about the brand. 13-year-old restaurant company, 500 stores. The biggest value proposition as it relates to the pizza is it's any toppings, one price, and can be customized for one single price. But really, what's core to us as a brand is our people first culture, and the way that we break down traditional barriers to employment. And the easiest, most measurable evidence of the way that we hire is justice involved, those in seeking a second chance, individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, as well as opportunity youth, 18 to 29 years old. Very vulnerable communities that have a ton of talent to offer, and we find them to be incredible and great employees. So as we were thinking about doing our first national campaign, marrying up this idea of customizable, inclusive pizza, if you will, you can get anything that you want, with our approach to creating an inclusive, welcoming, very diverse mod squad, that's what we call our team, became the perfect marriage for what ultimately is our All Pizzas Welcome campaign. And so the latest really highlights that inclusivity story, both at the product level, but importantly the people level. And it's the first time, really, in the national advertising space that we're starting to step out and reinforce that message with our customers for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And so, how would you say your inclusivity, diversity, and how does that intertwine with your marketing goals?
I would say that look, obviously there's the inclusivity that I talked about in terms of the product side, but one of the things beyond the advertising and the All Pizzas Welcome campaign, there's a number of other marketing initiatives that we do to continue to tell that story, because part of our approach being people first is not just about the way we hire, but how we give back to our communities and how we support our teams and our squads. So in additional to just the advertising that we do, we've executed a number of initiatives over the past year where we really use our product as a platform to tell that story and to give back and do good. It started with Impact Pizzas that we launched a few years ago that gave back to various organizations, but most recently we've launched limited edition desserts. The No Name Cake is our iconic dessert offering, and we've recently launched a series of limited edition cakes, to support our squad. They're called squad cakes, so a percentage of that goes to a bridge fund to support our squad in crisis. But we've also utilized these cakes to highlight partnerships in the past that we've utilized in our hiring practices. So we had a Best Buddies cake when we partnered with Best Buddies a few years back on providing more opportunities, again, for those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So beyond the traditional advertising vehicles, it's utilizing our product and our platform to really help tell that story. The last example I'll give, and it's a little bit of a preview because we're set to launch it in about a month from now. Every November, we celebrate our annual birthday. It's an event we call Spreading Modness. And this year, for the first time, we're launching a meal bundle, which will be a pizza and a salad and a drink, but integrated into it is what we call a side of Modness. And that side of Modness will give back to the community. It will, in this case, for Feeding America, to focus on food insecurity. Our squad gets involved. They get to pick the local charity as part of Feeding America that they want to give this back to. So again, utilizing our platform and what we sell to lean in and tell that inclusivity story and the community-based stories is been super important and effective for us.
And what is the difference between how do you, I guess, use your platform to tell that story, and I guess what's the difference between using your platform versus kind of making it sound like making the good that you guys do sound like just an advertisement, I should say.
Well, I I always want to link it to an action that people take rather than us just saying, here's exactly what we do. We want to make sure that there's an opportunity, because we are a community-based and people-based brand, that our customers can raise their hand and say, I want to participate in that. So not only is the product a vehicle for telling that story, it really gives people an active way of leaning in and participating with us to help. We talk a lot about making our society more equitable and breaking down these barriers. These direct actions that we're asking people to take can really help do that with the products that they're purchasing, the products that they're buying.
Mhm. And how would you say that people first branding, whether it's employees or customers, made you kind of stand out from the competition?
Um, I mean, I think it helps us. What we found is it turns people from liking us to loving us. And so the number one reason why people come to us is because we have delicious pizza. But the deeper you scratch beneath the surface, and particularly as we know with Gen Z and younger generations, their expectation that companies are making a positive social impact in the world is a little bit of table stakes. And we've been authentically hiring this way since the beginning. And uh, I As we stepped out again in the advertising, we want to obviously highlight craveable, delicious pizza and the any toppings, one price value prop. But I really believe that this approach to hiring, the fact that we've been doing it for so long and it's really endemic to who we are, it really guides our purpose. We say at Mod, we exist to serve people, and that is our Mod Squad. I think really provides a very compelling point of difference to us to talk about, where we're not just touting the latest value meal or the latest LTO. It's an authentic, I think, cornerstone of something that we can talk about that really sets us apart from the pack.
Hmm. And I was just going to ask, why is it important to have a purpose-driven culture? But I think you've sort of answered that here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say it in two ways. It's important because we believe it's helping to make a better world. That's, I think, the reason why it's super important. But I also think it's important because it resonates with our customers in a very powerful way, and that's an after effect. We didn't decide that there was some research that we saw that said we should do this. I think that we've done it because we think it's the right thing to do, and the fact that that helps to engage and marries up with the desires of our customers, I think, is the perfect marriage of where we are with the comm story.
Hmm. And now, obviously, over the past year and a half or so, the restaurant industry has really been through the ringer. And you guys are one of the brands that we're highlighting as that did well in 2020. How has if at all, how has your attitude toward this people first culture evolved or shifted or even grown since the beginning of the pandemic?
Great question. I'd start with every decision that we made during that very difficult time period, particularly those first few months, was centered on making sure that we were utilizing our purpose and our focus on our teams to guide all of our decision making. So whether that was um, leaning into their ability to, we had an initiative called Operation Hunger, where they could pick community-based organizations to give back and do pizza drops. As we were looking about, particularly in this hard hiring world that we're in right now, how do we lean into existing partners that we've utilized in the past to help us move through this? I think we've only doubled down on the purpose, recognizing that at the core of navigating through the pandemic, part one was opening ourselves up to more digital ordering channels and et cetera. But the real complement to that was making sure that our culture and our people remained strong throughout all of this, to make sure that the experience that they were having and ultimately the experience that they were giving was a fantastic community-based one. I think that just the feeling of community in terms of our squad and what they do out there was needed more than ever, frankly, during this past 18 months. And so the short answer is, I think it really allowed us to double down on it in dynamic ways. It birthed some of the product examples that I gave before, where we launched the squad cake for the first time. We saw our squad was in many moments of crisis. So how could we raise more money for a bridge fund to help contribute to them? So I think it just shined a light even more specifically on it, that we should lean further into it.
And since so many operators were struggling during the pandemic, to what do you attribute your success, where you've continued to grow sales?
Um, I think a number of things. I think at the heart, the power of the brand and the experience that we had already created. I think our ability to very quickly pivot to opening up off-premise ordering channels. We had the entire infrastructure in place, digital second make lines in all of our restaurants. It kind of just quickly accelerated us into multiple new channels. I think our ability to pivot in there really helped allow us to, grab the revenue and continue to grow and meet customers in new places that we hadn't primarily reached them before, which was mostly a walk the line in restaurant dining experience, but opening that up to delivery, integrated dispatch delivery, et cetera, I really think accelerated us into a different place in the past year and a half.
Mm-hmm. And kind of going back to that strength of culture, how have you used your culture and kind of the mod squad culture and kind of people first mentality to become a leader in the fast casual pizza world?
Again, I think because this has been our North Star since the beginning. It's less about, again, identifying we were going to find an opportunity to focus on this to differentiate us, and more, this is just bringing to life the fact that this exists for many people. Most customers, frankly, don't know that this is something that we do. So our opportunity was simply to tell the story. And again, most people are coming in because we have a great pizza at a great price. But the more that we can expose this culture to our customers and even to our teams and remind them that this is happening is just, I think helps differentiate us and helps us grow in this time.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense as to why now might have been a good time for your first national advertising campaign then.
Yeah, and stepping out in this manner, I didn't want to lead with an LTO or some discount or price-driven initiative, which you could argue would be the best ROI that you can spend in marketing. We really wanted to choose to shine a light on what we thought was our powerful point of difference and our authentic point of difference, which was why we very authentically included this in the advertising for the first time. It's not just a whole bunch of delicious looking pizzas. There's a story for both pizzas and, importantly, for the inclusive people story as well.